Hi there. You are inside of the ML Bailey Consultants live on Facebook. Tonight, this broadcast is specifically for those of you who are side hustle social workers who want to become side hustle social workers. What I'm going to talk about are the three ways that I overcame my side hustle business limitations. And this is also a blog post that's on For Real Social Workers Online Magazine. At least it will be in just a couple of minutes. I'm going to post it. I wanted to share with you that when I decided to become a side hustle social worker, and by that I mean that I have a full time job that I work Monday through Friday, 8 till 4:30 every day. But I wanted to become have my own business. And when I decided to do that, I did that at a time when our daughters were in middle school. They were about to go to high school, but both of them were in middle school at the time. We didn't have extra money to put into a new venture like this. And so I had to figure out a way to do it. How was I going to focus on growing a business and making money, but also being able to spend time with my family and not taking away from my family? So there were three things that I committed to when I started the business. And it kind of makes me think about how I used to have a garden. And I talk about that in the blog post, but I had a garden and I had to tend it. I was very deliberate in how I planted it, what I planted, and how I tended it. And so with the business, I had to be very deliberate. So I committed to doing three things. And those three things were really things that were important to me because I did not want to, again, take away from my family. So the first thing that I had to consider was time. And as I said, I worked 8 to 4:30 Monday through Friday. So when I started my business, I knew that anything that I did related to the business had to be done after hours. And by after hours, I mean it had to be done after I was off of my full time job and on the weekends. Well, having young girls like that who were very active, who were soccer players, and we had to travel with them. We were going out of town every weekend. I had to make sure that my schedule, my side hustle schedule, also fit with their schedule as well. And so time management was a big deal for me. I had to be very careful about how I managed my time. I also had to be very thoughtful so that I would not take time away from my family. So I made a commitment to put my family first when I started my business because I did not want my business to harm our relationships and I didn't want my business to hinder our relationships. So as a result, I had to go very slow in how my business grew. It grew very slowly and it continues to grow slowly but steadily because as I'm growing it, I'm taking deliberate actions so that I'm not jumping around hither and thither. I am not wasting time because I have very limited time. So I use my time wisely to make sure that the needs of my family are met, as well as my own personal needs are met. And it has been a benefit because I can, in turn, make sure the needs of my business are being met as well. So, one of the commitments I made was around time management, and the time I would spend with my family. The other thing is money. Now, I didn't have a pot of money to start my business. One of my mentors has always said that when she started her business, she started on a floss string budget. And that's even less than a shoestring budget. Well, when I started my business, I didn't have a budget. I had no money to start the business. So, another commitment I made was that I would be very frugal in terms of how I appropriated money towards the business. So, I would not use any funds that were dedicated to the household. I would not use any funds dedicated towards our children's activities or towards their education. So I had to figure out a way to find money to help fund my venture. So I looked at my salary and I decided to try to figure out what I was spending money on personally. And what I determined is that I could save about $200 a month just by bringing my own lunch to work. So I started preparing my own lunch and taking it to work with me. I used what was left over from our dinner the night before. I'd pack it up and I'd take it for lunch the next day. I actually still do that. But it has saved me, I would say, over $200 a month just by bringing my lunch to work. So I use that money to defray and help. I use that money. I'm sorry, and put it towards my startup cost, and it also helped to support my business efforts for several years. And then when my business started making some money, I reinvested those funds into the business. The third thing that that I made a commitment towards or to was in regards to my business connections. Um, I had limited time and I needed to be able to utilize that time effectively, especially when it came to business connections. And so I knew that I needed to be strategic in how I developed business relationships. So I was very strategic and I focused on cultivating relationships. I didn't go to networking events. I find that networking events don't really fit my particular needs because you can meet someone, you can give them a business card, they can give you their business card, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you are cultivating a relationship. And so I avoided networking events and I focused on cultivating true relationships. As a result of that, I developed relationships with a couple of people in my area. Also, I shared my goal of building this business with friends. And these are people who use their influence and their resources to help me when I started. They gave me exposure by helping me to um, be featured in magazines, targeting my target market. They also opened doors for me, enabling me to do trainings for organizations. They also made space for me as well by contacting me to form a consulting partnership with organizations in the area. We remain friends, and I'm very grateful for their continuing support. and because it has helped my business to grow. And I continue to be in touch with them. We continue to talk, and we've gone beyond business, and we remain friends. So these are three ways that I have been able to overcome limitations as a side hustle business owner. First, by putting my family first and being utilizing time management strategies to make sure the needs of my family are met, my personal needs are met, and the needs of my business are met. Also, by making sure I am frugal with the money that my business makes. Initially, I found money by looking at my spending habits and revamping those. Now I am at a place where I can reinvest what the business brings in, the revenue the business brings in, into the business. The other thing is having strategic business connections and not just knowing people or having a business card, but having a true relationship with people who can help me, and I in turn can help them. So that's it for now. Again, this broadcast is for those of you who are interested in becoming side hustle social workers, starting and growing a successful, sustainable, and satisfying side hustle. It is also a way to help limit the stress that you might incur as a side hustle social worker. Well, I'm Marcelin Bailey. That's it again for me. As always, take good care.